So, understandably, I was upset at my adoptive pedophile father, who was a psychiatrist, childhood psychiatrist, who had training in child psychiatry. I've been a consultant, this is a court record, I've been a consultant to the juvenile, consultant to orthopedic hospital, child psychiatry, psychiatry at the University of Washington. I teach acting, director, clinic, etc. So he's the real pedophile dad, child molesting psychiatrist. $75,000 awarded for child abuse. This is a statement where he says basically that another doctor says, "Why are you bringing my son in? He doesn't need drugs. He's trying to drug me up, keep me doped up," which he did so he could molest me. Then you have some of the other documents that I've showed all earlier. A 13-year-old child, another child, other legal documents involving other kids, and personal statements from my mom, legal documents. Please don't sleep with Bradley. That's what she said to him before she filed for divorce to get me away from him. She tried confronting him on it and getting him to stop molesting me. And that's a picture of the certified copy. Then we've gone over how he murdered our housekeeper, Mrs. Berkman, who was his patient that he was sleeping with, that he had on drugs like me. And we went over this document a little bit and all that. So I basically, when you're overwhelmed with all that stuff, you develop post-traumatic stress syndrome when you have hardcore abuse and everything, so I just buried it. I just buried that as far as I could in the furthest away part of my mind as I could. And then at 25 years of age, I started having flashbacks of the sexual abuse and everything, because I was working overtime, a lot of overtime. I was working like 16 hours a day and all that. And I started breaking down, and I remember being molested at a very, very young age, like 4 or 5, being in sexual positions. I remember him penetrating me, having my legs up in the air, penetrating me on my back in a fetus position. I remember that it was painful, and it caused permanent rectal damage. Like every time I have a shit and I bleed or something like that, I think of the fucking prick, you know. It's like, it's a weird fucking feeling after you've been sexually abused like that, viciously sexually abused by a pedophile. But anyways, and the murder of the housekeeper and all that stuff. So I started having all these memories, and I broke down mentally. And I told my work that I need to go to the mental hospital. I couldn't tell them exactly what was going on, but I said I'm not safe to be working in a dangerous job or anything. I can't function. I need to go to the mental hospital. And I immediately went to Harborview Mental Hospital in Seattle, Washington, the Department of Psychiatry. And I saw 12 psychiatrists off and on for a week. Tom Donahoe, Dan Donahoe works for the King County Prosecutor's Office, or he used to be my next door neighbor. I was friends with his brother, Tom Donahoe. He visited me at Harborview Hospital. My mom visited me, who's deceased, my adoptive mom. Elwood visited me, the pedophile molester, and some other people at Harborview Hospital in 3MH. So I went on and off for about a week. And they had me all doped up on antipsychotic medication. They had me all doped up on medication because I was having these, my childhood flashbacks were nonstop. I couldn't shut them off. I couldn't sleep. And I was talking to all these psychiatrists and everything at 3MH. And then after about a week, this one woman walks up to me, and she knows, "We know your dad." And I'll show you why. I mean, they know him because he worked for him. I was the acting director at University of Washington, which is a division of Harborview. They merged child psychiatry and then orthopedic hospital. So he actually worked there. He specialized in cases and testified in the court of law in child abuse cases. I mean, what a perfect position for a pedophile to be in charge. But anyways, so this woman walks up to me and she goes, "I've known Elwood L. Jones for years, and he would never ever do anything like that to a kid at all." And that just blew me away. I was just freaking horrified. I couldn't believe it. And I guess that's what they do when they commit genocide on people or whatever. They just frickin' deny it. Everybody just buries it. And they didn't want to be responsible or legally responsible and all that. So she came up to me and said that. And it just blew me away. I gave up all hope of getting any therapy or help with them at that point. And then I wanted out of there. But one psychiatrist told me the truth. He said, you know, because your dad is such a powerful shrink and all that and so well connected, you're going to have to leave the state or you're going to have to go somewhere else for help because it's going to be really hard for you to get in the state of Washington. And he was right. So I went to ACOA meetings, adult child of alcoholics meetings for years, and it was really, really beneficial. Then I went to Narcotics Anonymous to get off the drug problem that he started me on. I went to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings because genetically I'm an alcoholic. I met my real parents eventually and found out that I am alcoholic by genetics, aside from being raised in that adoptive home where I was having alcohol and drugs and all that. I dealt with that. I dealt with the sexual abuse at the ACA meetings. I met other people that were sexually abused, and I went to SA meetings for sexual abuse, and that's basically how I dealt with it. And I spent like 7 years of my life trying to undo all that nasty stuff that was done to me by my pedophile father. And I didn't want to become an offender because I studied psychiatry and psychology enough when I was through my denial phase that I didn't want to repeat the pattern on somebody else. I didn't want to become an abuser or offender or do anything like what was done to me to somebody else. So I got the therapy and dealt with it as best as I could. And you don't ever get through it fully. I mean, I was molested so young and it was so deep in my psyche. I mean, I think I'm such a worthless piece of shit that I'll never, ever fucking be a normal person. After what happened to me. So, anyways, after a while, I go back to Harborview Medical Center, and I requested my medical records from that experience that I had at Harborview Medical Center, because I was really, really pissed off about them denying what happened to me and sticking up for my adoptive father and all that. And also, I wanted to take his license away because I didn't want him abusing any other kids. So, this is a copy of the letter returned to me from Harborview. We have received your request for the release of information. Unfortunately, we are unable to honor your request for the following reason. The information that you requested is not in our files. So, they got rid of it. They buried it. They destroyed it. They shredded it, the whole thing. I went to DSHS for records because I was upset. Other institutions and private doctors that I saw, I said, I, Bradley C. Jones, request that you mail me all my medical records you have on file, recorded on or other formats between the years of 1962 and 2002. Please mail these records to such and such address. If you're unable to do this, please send me a written statement giving me the reasons why you're not able to. So I basically cornered them. And this is another one. This is the thing that I filed with Harborview, where they knew my dad and they knew about the abuse, but they figured it was just easier to just bury the drug addict's son's opinion and all that, just to cover their own butt. Now, after doing that, I gathered the information. I went to the courts. I looked up every record under his name I could find that they settled, that they dealt with in court, that they didn't settle out of court. All the cases involve him where they did settle in court. And I found that he had abused other minors and other children, and that I wasn't alone, and that was horrible. And that he was still practicing as a psychiatrist, so I went after his license. I really didn't care about his money. I just wanted his fucking license. That's it. I was really pissed off about that. So then I started dealing with the state of Washington. And this is why I don't trust the U.S. government. I have no faith in the legal system. The only faith I have in the legal system is that the legal system is corrupt and always will be, and I have full faith in that. And I don't have much hope or faith or anything or any of that after what happened to me. I mean, they want to drop bombs in other countries, and they want to fucking import drugs into the country and all that, and have people addicted to drugs. I mean, that's another thing I could go off. I'm getting way off subject here, but I'm going to talk about my approaching the state in the last one of this. So